So the first thing we're going to do today is go over the homework. Five 13, you have an airfoil, an angle of attack that's flying at Mach 0.8. So we can look up the value of CL for 0 Mach number from the appendix. But then we have to use the formula to convert it to a value for Mach 0.8. So from the appendix at 4 degrees, I got about 0.58. Should be close to what you're getting. And then you use a Prandtl-Glauer rule to calculate CL. So I got about 0.97, you should be close to that. Any questions on that one? Good. 514 is the same thing, only kind of inverted. Got airfoil, Mach number is 0.7. Given the CL is 0.85, and they want you to find alpha. So you work backwards, you use the same formula to get CL at 0 Mach number. And then you look that up in the tables of the appendix. And you should get about 2 degrees for the angle of attack. Does that match with what you guys have? Close? Then 517 and 518 are Mach angle problems. So your Mach 2.0, and they want you to calculate mu. Well, we have the formula for that. So really, you just stuff in the Mach number, and you get a mu angle of 30 degrees. Make sure you show your work on all of these. Because I'm giving you the answers, so show me that you're actually doing it. So that's easy. And then 518, you're at 2.5 Mach number at an altitude. That says how far from the missile to the ground to impact the shock wave. So that's a picture I think I drew in class a while back. Here's your missile, an altitude of 10,000 feet. It has a shock wave. How far is this distance? Yeah, I call it D. So there's the altitude. So it's a trig problem, and you need to know this angle, and this angle is mu. So for that Mach number, you get a value of mu, 23.58 degrees, and then you should get 22.913 meters for that distance. Again, make sure you show your work, draw the picture. Because if you don't do that, you can't really visualize what's going on. Questions on that one? And the last one's kind of involved, so I'll walk you through that one. So it's a Lockheed F-104. They give you a wing area and an altitude. So of course from this you can get the density, temperature, and pressure. So make sure you show this work, that you looked up those values. They say find the wave drag, assuming a flat plate. So we're going to use the formulas for supersonic flight from the book. You plug in the Mach number, you put in the angle of attack, and you get the wave drag. This is for a flat plate, so we're assuming the wing for this thing is a flat plate. And these are just experimentally determined values. And it says assume lift equals weight. So that means we can calculate the lift coefficient. So we plug in the weight we're given, 16,000 pounds, right? So you plug in the weight, you plug in the wing area, you plug in the density that we got up here, but we don't know the velocity. Directly, we know a Mach number. So how do we get the velocity from Mach number? Well, Mach number is velocity divided by the speed of sound, so we have to calculate the speed of sound. And we also need to calculate the dynamic pressure then, once we get to velocity. But then how does that connect back to this? Well, the lift formula for supersonic flight for a flat plate were given in the book, again, experimentally. So that's why this is a little bit involved. You have to use this to get the angle of attack, which then you stick over here to get the drag. So the assumption is flat plate, lift equals weight. So you get that to get CL. So make sure you show the calculation of CL. Also show the calculation for the speed of sound and for the dynamic pressure. And I'll give you the answer so you can check your work along the way. So let's see, the first thing I've calculated is I've calculated the speed of sound. And that's just gamma RT, square root of gamma RT, and so that's why we needed the temperature at that altitude. And V infinity is going to be the Mach number times the speed of sound. So that's how fast we're going, and then we can calculate Q infinity. 1/2 rho V infinity squared. So there's a lot of intermediate calculations. Show all of those calculations and show your work. And then that goes into the formula for CL. Should have to be this, so spot check your answer there. and solve for an angle of attack of that, which then goes in over here to get the wave drag. Coefficient. So this is almost a mystery problem. You're given some data and it doesn't seem to connect directly with a formula. So you start calculating what you can get, starting with lift equals weight, that feeds into the lift coefficient. And then you're like, well, I need all of this stuff to calculate that. And then CL is going to give you alpha, which then gives you the wave drag. Did anybody get through this? Yeah, that's why I wanted to walk through it. So does that get you going on the problem now? Yeah. Okay. And again, this lift equals weight thing is assuming that this airplane is flying level with the horizon so that the lift is balancing the weight.
So does that mean that the angle of attack would have to be at something greater than 0 for it to generate enough lift to have?
Yeah, yeah. So the velocity is this way, but the wing may be at an angle of attack to generate the lift. Yeah. Well, it'd have to be.
Right.
Yeah, I guess my figure is a little weird. I'm going to draw a better one. So in reality, the airplane would be probably tilted up just a little bit like that. But it's flying level, so there's the velocity. And this is the angle of attack there. But again, lift is perpendicular to velocity, and weight, of course, is down. So that's where you get that. Yeah.
Would you, do you want us to draw the diagram for this one too?
The airplane diagram?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you can, but no, we're not doing that right now. All right, so if you have answers that were wrong on the other parts of the problems, go fix them up. This is due on Monday with a quiz. And then now you can walk through this one and get it done. Next, we're going to finish our airplane. So we're going to go X-plane. Does anybody in here need a handout? I have a bunch. Anybody else? Another one? Anybody want to take one home for their friends and family? You need one? I'll ask around for another. I'll grab one. Anybody else? I need two more. So we did everything in our airplane except for the instrument panel and painting it. So here's where we were last time. Does that show up okay, or should we bring the lights down a bit? Can you guys see that okay, or do you want lower lights?
That's fine.
That's good.
Is painting it in this package?
Is what?
You said painting it?
Yeah, I'm gonna show you how to paint it.
that supposed to be in our packets?
No, so I'm gonna show you how to do it. How do I get rid of this thing? There we go. If we saved it and then shut the program down and we wanted to load it, we'd go to File and Open. And then we go into the folder. Remember, we put it in the aircraft folder under AE324. And then there, this .acf file is the file type for an airplane. So we open that. And there's our airplane. Remember, it's got the control surfaces doing their thing and the landing gear. And you can use the A, S, D, and W buttons, keyboard, to rotate it so you can look at it. So right over here on the left hand, there's the A, S, D, and W keys. And the A and D rotate it like this, and the W's and S's do this. Let's put the instrument panel in it. Standard panel 2D. And I'm going to drag this open a little bigger so that we have room. And these are listed in your handout, but you're going to have to write down the names and where to find them. So I'm going to show you, because I had to write down the key here so I could find them, because there's all kinds of instruments in this list. So the first thing we want to find is, these are the buttons that are in the lower left-hand corner on your handout. They're down here. And the first one we want is a battery button. So we're going to drop down menu buttons. Write that down or you'll never find it. And then we're going to be looking for button underscore battery. There it is right there. And you click on that and drag it down. If we turn the preview on, there it shows here. You can click on this thing and grab the little picture and drag it down and put it here. And that's in your instrument panel. And then should be a button called brakes. This one here. This is really a light and a button. And there's nothing special about where I'm putting these. I'm just putting them down here in the lower corner. And then the button for the landing gear, if you scroll down and look at the L's, it's not here, but it's in a drop-down menu under the buttons. So we've already clicked on buttons. And now we scroll down and we see landing gear. So that's a sub-menu of the button menu. Do that, and we want button, gear, handle, general aviation. This allows us to put the gear up and down. And then we're doing a glider where you're going to be timed on how long you can stay aloft, so it's nice to have a timer on board. And we're done with the button menu, so we're going to get rid of that, get rid of the clutter. Clocks. And the one we want is clock data timer. It's called timer GA, so we're going to grab this one and put it here.
What is like a GA versus like a BC timer mean?
GA stands for general aviation. I don't know what BC stands for. Let's see what it says. Where does it say? Chronometer, I don't know. These are the standard instruments he's put in to explain. Let's see, so we got that. And now we want the standard 6 instruments, the airspeed, the artificial horizon, the altimeter, the bank angle, heading, and vertical speed. So those are under standard 6. We'll grab an airspeed indicator. The one that works pretty well is ASI preset GA. Yeah, it's this one here. Then we want an altimeter, so we're gonna grab one of those. The digital altimeter is the one we're gonna use. Altitude, GA, DIG, yep. Put that over here. And then I want an artificial horizon. So that's horizon GA vacuum. This one here. Put that here. And then I want to turn, slip, bank indicator. So that's under turn slip. And the one we use is turn PNG. And these aren't gospel, I'm just picking ones that look like standard instruments in a small GA aircraft. Then we need an artificial gyro, a heading indicator. So that's under the digital gyros. And a good one is DG SIM. This one here. Let's do that one here. And the last one's a vertical speed indicator. So it's the vertical speed 2000 GA. Put that over here. So did I go through that too fast, or were you able to find and write down the names? Let me go back to that again. Yes, no?
That's all the names at the top, right?
Where was that?
On the right side.
The top right.
Oh, over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure you guys had time to write these down so you can find them if you want to use them. Now, this doesn't mean you have to use these when we get to using X-Plane. They're just a nice set of instruments to have. You're welcome to put anything in your cockpit when you get to that point. In fact, one of the people, this is a team design project, so one of the people on your project will be designated as the pilot, and one of their jobs is to create the instrument panel on your airplane. Other people will develop the wing, the horizontal tail, the vertical tail, and do performance evaluations and things like that.
Do you know if X-Plane can import like custom PNGs?
No, I don't. And these graphics are actually tied to the data inside X-Plane. So like the altimeter and their airspeed gets data from inside. I would suspect that yes, you can create your own instruments. I've never done it. I would say that I uploaded also an X-Plane manual to Blackboard, and if you did a Google search and say how to create my own custom instrument in X-Plane, you'll probably find a tutorial. Okay, so we're done here. I'm going to save it. Now we need to paint the airplane. So here's the process for painting the airplane. You have to write this down. Because you do this outside of the X-Plane plane maker. But the menu you need here is special. Then you go down to output texture map starting points. So what it does is it draws an outline of each of the pieces and parts of the airplane in a picture file, and then we go into paint and we edit that. So make sure you get this written down. I'm going to click on that, And it takes my airplane and says, I now shall now create a bitmap in the same folder as this airplane, which will contain outlines of the various parts of this airplane. You can use these outlines as a nice starting point, but you can read this. So essentially, you color in the airplane. So this is using stuff you guys learned in first and second grade, right? So everything eventually you use. So we have to go find that file. Which is in the X-plane directory under aircraft, under 324. And there's the things it just created. Notice it has the same name as our airplane. It's what we call the AE324 demo. I put the 2 on there because did I save it as that last time? I think it was because I was copying it over here. And then it gives you this paint file. It's a PNG file, so if you right click on it, and I want to open with, here we go. I want to open it with paint. You can open it in any graphic software you want. Let's see, I'm gonna have to share this screen, right? So let's show the zoom, folks. Here's the menu. I found it under X-plane aircraft AE324, and these are the files, and this is the file that I opened right here. I did a right click on that and opened it with paint. You guys all know how to do this, right? That's showing up there? Yeah, okay. So after I did that, here's that file.
If you just share screen 1, then it'll just share everything that you.
Yeah, I've done that before, and then it's hard to get out of that screen share for some reason. We can give it a shot. I did it the other day, and yeah, then you see everything that's on your desktop.
Well, if you just minimize it in the background, it'll be fine. You can
Yeah,
just
we're
minimize
good.
it, right?
On the laptop I was on the other day, I couldn't find the stop share button. It had gone away somewhere. But we're seeing this, right? Yeah. And we're sharing, so I'm sharing the whole thing. And so we can go in and color this thing. This is the left side of the fuselage, this is the right. This is both sides of the vertical tail down here on the left. And then we've got the horizontal tail here, because the elevator goes the full span. And then here is the wing with the aileron on the outboard section. So we can pop up the paint bucket and dump colors on here. So we can make our horizontal tail red. Well, I don't like that color because that's hard to see. There we go. So there's our horizontal tail. And we can do a light blue for the elevator.
So is everything that's red right now not?
Yeah, that's not part of the airplane. That's just back here.
Just extraneous.
We can use close to a shocker gold here. And then a light yellow for the aileron. Let's do even more contrasting here. So this is definitely a task for the artist in your group. For the vertical tail, to green on this side, pink on that side, and maybe brown for the rudder. Then you can spray paint your airplane with a nice design. Or you can go in and fill the different pieces and parts, or you can be as artistic as you want. Now I'm going to show you something. I'm going to put on the vertical tail, we're going to put our tail number. So we're going to put a text box. Okay, so we're there. Now I'm going to copy that. Move this one under this tail and type it again. So I have AE324 on both sides of the airplane, right? Save that file. So now I've saved my coloring in the airplane. I'm going to go back here and I say reload textures. And there's our paint scheme. What do you think?
Beautiful to work of art.
And honestly, I don't know how to change the color of the landing gear. Did anybody see those in the paint file? I can use the plus key to zoom in.
There was 2 PNGs. It might have been on the other PNG.
Well, the other PNG was just that just the red stripe. We can play around with it. I've never taken the time to figure out where that goes. But let's look at this for a minute. So there's our vertical tail, and it says AE324, right? Let's spin around and look at the other side. What does it say? Backwards, right? So if you want to put writing or designs on there, on one side, you do it with the way it looks, and then you have to mirror image it. You can do that in Paint or the graphic software. Just flip it around. But keep that in mind, and that's not hard to do. You just have to play around with it.
What grade would this get for the project?
If you're in charge of the paint and design, you kind of maybe a C minus, because you can do better than this, right? I will restrict it. Don't put my picture on it. What? Students in the past will tend to put my picture on it to impress me. You can put blue shock on there if you want.
You don't want your face inside of the airplane?
No,
Not that self.
now if it were a real airplane flying around, sure. As long as they pay me money, to use my face. All right, so questions about this. So we've created the airplane. You just go through the menus. You do the wing, the horizontal tail, vertical tail, fuselage, landing gear took some time. Got to go through the weight and balance. But walking through the tutorial and the box or the menus, it's pretty straightforward. There's more to it than just this. We'll be designing the airplane and choosing the wing shape and the airfoil and things like that. I'll give you the details. I think that's a couple of weeks from now when I'll make the assignment. We'll form groups. Won't be too, maybe it's just a week from now because I want to get you guys going on this before Thanksgiving because then we're not in person anymore. Honestly, I need to go look at the syllabus and look at the timing for that. Now would be a good time to download X-Plane and start playing around with it. Maybe go through this menu and do it yourself. Save it one more time. And here's how you fly. I need the X-Plane 9 directory wherever it got installed. And instead of the plane maker, we're going to go directly into X-Plane. And this is the flight simulation software. You guys, I showed you how to fly an airplane earlier this year, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that count for my pilot training from pilot license?
This X-Plane home use version not approved for commercial use.
Not too bad.
Yeah. There is a version you can pay for that's FAA approved. And honestly, I've had students in my lab where we have a really nice simulator. practice IFR approaches and things like that in the simulator, and it's pretty good. You know, you can learn the procedures and everything else that you need to do. Notice that it says there's no X-Plane 9 disk. We're operating in the demo version. When you form your groups, I will give you a disk that you can use that will allow you to fly for longer. But after 10 minutes, you can no longer control the airplane. If I say, yep, I know that. And now I'm going to find my airplane. Oh, we're not at 777. Just go to that same directory, find the ACF file. Open it. And here's our airplane. If you hit the A key, we can see it.
A little bit of some balance issues.
Yeah, it makes me think I didn't get the CG in the right spot. Go back to playing. I did set the CG, right? Because this looks like the CG is behind the landing gear, and that's the problem.
Isn't it the glider units?
Yeah, I mean, we can put it in the air, but I don't know if it's going to fly because the CG is messed up. So it's sitting on the runway for takeoff, and we can't take off because we don't have an engine. But we can go location, global airport, Cherokee to Burroughs fine. We're in New York, and do a 3 nautical mile approach, and now we're in the air. And it does fly, although the CG has me a little worried that I need to scoot the CG forward. Or I put the landing gear. The landing gear is on the wing, so we're good there. So it does fly. The instruments do work. And you can push the G button and the gear should retract. And you can push the A button and go outside. And see your airplane flying. And some people, when we actually fly these airplanes to compete, to see how long you can stay aloft, like being in this outside flying mode, kind of depends. I honestly think it's better if you can look at your airspeed instruments because flying will have you trying to fly at target airspeed is one of the best strategies to stay in the air. We're all going to get sick here. That's true. But if you're a pilot and you don't look outside, you die, right?
Are you trained not to look outside if you get your insurance?
Oh, if you're doing IFR, yeah. Oh, and by the way, you're not allowed to put an autopilot in the airplane for your competition. Now I wonder what's the deal is with the CG.
We do the competition, do we have to fly with a mouse or can we use like one of the joysticks?
I will bring a joystick in for you guys to use. And you can borrow one to practice. Or if you have your own joystick you practice at home, you can bring that in. Yeah.
We play chicken with there.
Play chicken? Yeah.
Air show and all.
In X-Plane, you can link up, like you can, all of you guys could be flying your own airplane. If you're in the same airport, you can go into some settings and point to the IP address of the other computers, and you can all fly in the same airspace. To the point where you can have an F4 with missiles and shoot at each other. So one time we set that up and I went in and 4 guys were flying around in F4s and the other guy was flying a 777 and they were trying to shoot him down. And the situational awareness is hard. How do you find that airplane in the sky and find it and shoot it down? Once you see it, it's easy to shoot it down, but it's hard to find. And the guy in the 777 was doing barrel rolls and diving and all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah.
Did you hear about the maintenance guy that jacked the plane a few years ago in Seattle?
No.
Yeah, he jacked the plane a few years ago, took it on some barrel rolls, and crashed it off the coast of Seattle. Yeah,
Really? This was a Boeing commercial.
It was like an
Yeah.
ATR or something. It was a turbo prop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was like a-
So obviously he didn't know how to fly real well.
No, he said like you can hear him talk to the towers when they're trying to like tell him like how to get down and stuff. He goes, "No, I've done a few simulations. Like you can come land it." And he goes, "No, I'm good. I disappointed a lot of people today."
And then he crashed.
Yeah, I think he was trying to commit suicide in a different way.
Oh, that's yeah. So you really didn't want to land. It was just,
But it was, take away the suicide. I mean, it was-
yeah. That's an interesting story. So what's wrong with my CG? Weight imbalance.
The whole clip of that is online. If you want to watch it. Like the whole like him talking with the towers and stuff. All of it's
Oh, yeah?
online. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I think this is an 8.9. Maybe that's, I think, right. Where's my movie? Landing gear's pretty far down. That's at 9.5, so I don't know what's going on here. I'll poke around with it and try to figure it out. The one that I did on my laptop didn't do that, so I'm wondering if something got corrupted when I transferred it over to this computer. It shouldn't do that. I did put retraction angles on it, didn't I? Retraction. So I don't know why it didn't retract the gear either. I'll have to poke around with it. But okay, so that's how you put an airplane into X-plane. And by the way, when you build a glider in your groups, I recommend you don't put landing gear on it because you don't want the gear on there because it has extra drag, and most gliders don't have landing gear. Or if they do, they have a nose thing that pops out.
Like one wheel.
Yeah, one wheel.
And you don't need the lane.
Yeah, so you're not gonna you're gonna be hitting the ground, but to optimize performance, you're better off without landing gear. And it makes it easier.
Like everything.
Can they make their airspeed really low? Like their drag really high, their lift really high to make it like their velocity really low or something? How do they not like destroy their glider completely?
When they land.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have flaps and they deploy the flaps, and I mean, they land on a grassy field. So they don't fly real fast.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't weigh much.
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's call it for today. Have a good weekend. Stay warm.